Do you know how easy it is to become your own grandpa?
No, I don't. But please.
Speaking of seminal time
Are we
travel.
recording? Okay.
Last one. Becoming your own grandpa, super easy. And legal as well. If you married someone who had a daughter of age, and then your dad fell in love with the daughter, now I know there's a big age gap, but could happen, then you would be your own grandpa.
That's hot.
in just 2 easy steps. There you go.
2 easy steps.
2 easy steps. You marry someone with a kid and your dad.
Do you want to
Figure
become
out time travel, step one.
Pretty much.
Why don't we talk about this in the time travel episode?
I only found it out recently. Actually, I didn't. I found it out from watching the Stupids film starring Tom Arnold from 1994, I want to say.
Of course you did.
He sings a song called I'm My Own Grandpa, which my entire life I've thought is just a funny song because, you know, it's the Stupids, and in that film, for anyone who's never seen it, which I assume is everyone.
Yes.
That film is...
the rest of everyone out there.
Is like the most basic SNL sketch. It's just I think it might have been you know that weird time when SNL was turning all of their sketches into movies?
Yes.
That's
or
all
characters.
Characters in that weird area.
When was the last time SNL turned the thing into a movie?
I'm trying to think now. Genuinely. They did... I think they did this... I think The Stupids is. I could be wrong, but I think it is. And then they did that one where...
Hot Rod, wasn't it?
Was Hot Rod one? Hot Rod's a good film as well. I was going to say Pat? And it's that weird little androgynous man/woman character who nobody knows the sex. And
MacGruber was the last one.
Which one?
MacGruber.
Yeah.
I remember that one had a bunch of wrestlers in it.
I have no idea who that is. But yeah, Pat was neither man nor woman, and in the space of a 5 to 8 minute SNL sketch where the joke is, what's this? Is that a man or a woman? Fine. But stretching that out to an hour and a half, I've only seen the trailer and it does not look good.
So what you're saying is you shouldn't overextend something and have it run on for too long unnecessarily and achieve nothing whatsoever. So today we're talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, everybody.
And also Tarantino's career. It's a double whammy.
Woo!
And that horrible speech you just gave fits both of them.
Yay! We've been planning to do a Tarantino episode for a while. And we were just waiting for his new movie to come out.
And it's out.
And it's now out. And I've seen it. Gary's seen it, and Audio Boy's seen it, and now we're all enthusiastic to talk about it. Yay! Play the intro.
Jinx.
It's meandering movies. It's meandering movies. It's meandering movies. So won't you lend an ear?
What are you gonna do now? We got a whole podcast to record, and you can't speak. This is the Gary episode. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Meandering Movie Podcast, where I'm your main host, Gary Copeland, and my mute partner is... Can't say nothing. Still on Jinx. Didn't do it during the intro.
Trenchfoot's his name.
Trenchfoot. He's still jinxed.
No, don't hurt me. He's coming for help. Help. We assaulted my own flat.
Don't break Jinx.
My name is
Gavin.
the menstrual blood splatter that is Gavin Stewart, but it's the amount of blood that is in a Tarantino movie, so it's too much, it's egregious, it makes you uncomfortable, and you're just like, can you stop?
Did you say minstrel or menstrual?
Menstrual.
Oh, dude, not a good name. One of the worst. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and then move into... I mean, it's probably going to be one of these sloppy... We have 2 parts, but it will end up being 1 part, I feel.
Yeah, we're talking about Tarantino
with more Once Upon a Time in Hollywood
should be
than not.
Off the bat. I mean, I would say should be worried about spoilers, but there's literally nothing you can spoil about this film because as we talk about it, and as the listeners will soon learn, nothing happens in this film.
Yeah, I still think we should. I think we should do our usual, discuss our general thoughts on it, and then do the good old spoiler klaxon. Sans.
If you want to stick around to just then hear more of the same comments and not worry about anything being spoiled, feel free to do that, because nothing happens in this film.
I know, it's all right. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you want to just do it from the bat? Spoiler 1. If we put a spoiler 1 now, we can just talk about it. Doesn't matter.
Do you make it the decision, Audio Boy?
I think we should. Just spoiler. Spoiler noise.
Aha!
Done. So.
What did you like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Okay, I think I liked exactly 50% of that movie.
What was the 50%?
And it's not like 50% is in the beginning or the end.
Okay.
I mean 50% is as in the performances. So Pitt and DiCaprio more than Pitt, but
Really?
I thought DiCaprio was fucking phenomenal in that film. Really?
Oh, I have to disagree.
Oh, and I thought DiCaprio gave a fucking phenomenal performance.
I think he
mainly
just did Leonardo DiCaprio again, which is, I've said this to Audio Boy before. He's got 2 volumes. It's either normal volume or he's shouting, and whatever volume is at, that's the place the character's at, and that's it.
Man, I think I agree. So because DiCaprio, I'm getting all confused. DiCaprio when he's doing the cowboy stuff was phenomenal, but then that was very Django Unchained.
You're using the word phenomenal.
I liked it. I thought DiCaprio pulls that film together on a big way.
But then here's the question: is you say DiCaprio's pulling that film together? What film is he pulling together?
Well, exactly. This is what I'm saying. Exactly 50% of that movie. So I liked DiCaprio's performance. I really did. I think it's a strong performance, and I think he did very well with what he did. And you're right. When he's doing the characters, all the characters are very very akin to his Django Unchained.
I'm just gonna shout my dialogue.
But it's good. And then when he comes into the I literally just walked out of this film and I can't remember any of the characters' names. Rick Dolan. Rick Dolan? Rick Astley? No, not Rick
Dalton.
Rick Dalton.
Dalton's Leonardo DiCaprio character.
When he's playing Rick Dalton, I just thought he was cracking, man. I thought starting off being very smug and proud and then like crying because he's reading the book, and I mean this is where I didn't like it. So much of the character stuff is so fucking ham-fisted, especially DiCaprio stuff. Like, I'm reading a book about a cowboy that's
Oh my god, that scene was so awful.
over his prime, and now I'm crying, and the little girl's doing it. So like, it's so weird. It just whiplashed back and forth for me. Pitt's performance, it's doing Brad Pitt. He's doing Brad Pitt. He's doing what Brad Pitt does in every film.
See, I'm in the opposite view, which is I think DiCaprio was just doing DiCaprio, whereas Pitt was doing what Pitt does best, which is he is a great character actor with just this kind of charming, alluring presence.
Yeah.
And every time he was on screen, he does so little, but I'm just so drawn to him.
Well,
Whereas
see, I think-
DiCaprio's doing so much that I'm just like, please go away. It's a bombard. It's
Yeah.
like a Tarantino experience. You're just being bombarded in the fucking face and the ears, and it's like, oh.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that. And I think the agreement I have with you is that Brad Pitt's performance in that film is, I say it's very Brad Pitt, and that's not a bad thing. But it is just that very self-assured, Southern drawl.
Yeah.
That's Brad Pitt.
Kind of-
but it works.
Kind of his character in Inglourious Basterds and stuff like that.
Yeah, like it just works. It's great. And then I'm going to talk about the stuff I did like more than first, at least. And then
I'll just do the rest.
because then I think I'm probably going to agree with you on the vast majority of this. So the other bit I did like is the thematic element and the Tarantino bait and switch of you think DiCaprio's the main character, and then he's not really. That whole film, it spends so much time with DiCaprio and Pitt. You've pretty much Pitt? Is it Pitt? No, Pitt. For a split second there, I was like, Brad Pitt. That's his name.
Brad Pitt. It's like, I love Brad Pitt.
Brad
On the
Pitt.
subject of getting people's names wrong, I need to mention this just now or I'll forget. That Hobbs and Shaw episode,
Oh, yeah.
I kept referring to the female lead in that film as Elizabeth Kirby, and her name is Vanessa Kirby.
Oh, fuck.
It got pointed out to me by our resident fact checker and my old work dad. He pointed that out to me.
It's a good thing someone's listening to
Someone's
these.
listening. Someone's paying attention. So shout out to him.
Shout out to Audio Boy's work, Dad. So yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, Brad Pitt, and you think they're kind of both lead men, and then fundamentally what Tarantino's done is he's made a 70s themed Western, and Brad Pitt is the cowboy of the movie.
But it's set in 1969.
1969, 60s on verging 70s. Depends where your decade lies. A lot of people argue that a decade, if you're a 70s kid, you're a kid that was born in 65 to like 68, because then you're growing up in the prime chunk of 70s, you know?
I mean, for example, my brother was born in 89, but his life was pretty much the 90s.
Yeah, he's a
So
90s kid. So a lot of people argue that a
You
decade...
were born in 2004, so you know.
That's not true.
But it might as well be.
So it's like it's a 70s film, And Brad Pitt is the cowboy character. He's constantly walking
Yeah.
into town. He's self-assured. He's not looking for trouble. Even though trouble finds him. You know what I mean? If you take that character and you stick it into an old Western, it fits. It's all good. And then DiCaprio gets sidelined to effectively, even though he's the bigger star, and even in the context of the movie, he's got more going on. He's still a sidekick. And that all comes to a head in the final explosive scene.
Showdown.
The showdown where Brad Pitt does fucking everything and DiCaprio does one thing with the one piece of technology that he knows how to use that he's terrified of.
That scene where Brad Pitt threw that can of dog food at that woman's
Buckled.
face.
I fucking lost my shit.
I
I was the
was
only
just
one
like-
in the cinema laughing, and then everyone else did that kind of like, oh, right, we should be laughing maybe. But I was fucking gone. Like, ugh. And yeah. And then, all right, so that, just before I go into it, is there anything else I liked?
What about any other performances or characters?
Margot Robbie.
Saying that, I'm not a fan of Margot Robbie, and I've said that before. She's fine in this, but then that's because she doesn't do anything in this.
Yeah, I think. Oh, you said this today, Audio Boy, or was it yesterday? I can't remember. Because my days just blend into one at this point, doing all these overnights. Is that if you were to take out, in fact, you say it because it was your comment.
Yeah, like what did Margot Robbie contribute to that movie?
So that have you guys done the research on this? Because I'm with you. Did anybody look into this?
No.
As in the actual true life, what actually happened type thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we know what happened.
Well, see, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Before going into that film, I hadn't got a fucking clue. And it's
The Manson murders. And
yep. I know of the Manson murders. I didn't realize Sharon Tate. You know what I mean? I didn't realize
Yeah.
that was the Tate family and the Tate murder. I didn't know. I honestly didn't have a clue about any of that. And I want to get into that in the things I didn't necessarily like chunk of this. So yeah, Margot Robbie was fine. Anyone else is in there? I mean, there's a few kind of bit parts. Kurt Russell popping up.
Margaret Qualley.
Yeah, like they're all just there. It's Brad Pitt and DiCaprio doing the major legwork.
So, I guess we should get to the bits I liked about the movie.
Yeah. You're
It
gonna say
looks
none.
good. The movie looks good.
What do you think of the soundtrack?
I mean,
it's a good set piece. It's
like
it's a film that sucks you into
it's
that
music. It's songs
time.
and music that I like,
Yeah.
but it plays no bearing on the film. I feel Django Unchained was Tarantino's best use of music because he specifically went out and sought songs that played into the scenes that they were happening.
Yeah. And the thematic correctness.
Yeah, and kind of bolster them in different ways. I feel in this, he's just like, oh, these were songs I heard I heard on the radio as a kid when I was driving in the car with my dad. So I'm just going to put these songs on.
So I'm kind of in two minds about it because my take on the soundtrack and that is that a lot of the actual score has been fixed specifically to work with the characters. Like every character had their own score, which I don't know if anyone else picked up on.
See, I just felt like the score at times was confused as to what was happening in the scene. Whereas sometimes the scene would be happening and there would be a score, but the score didn't in any way coincide with.
But
what
then
was
that might
happening
be
in the scene.
because the score at that time was for a different character than the camera was focused on. You know, like there was a few times where it happened where every character had their own score. So Margot Robbie, DiCaprio, and Pitt all had their own thematic scores throughout the film, and then once or twice the focus of a scene would switch from DiCaprio to Pitt, but the score would stick to DiCaprio's, if that makes sense. And I did notice it, and it's a bit jarring, but because I kind of picked up on what they were aiming for, I think I could be talking out my ass because I'm just the fucking pleb on this podcast.
I mean, if Tarantino was aiming for anything, he missed. That's what I'm going to say. Fucking hell.
I'm trying to, yeah. So
yeah, for me, the thing I liked was how the film looks. Tarantino, he grew up in this time.
Yeah.
He knows it very well. He went to incredible efforts to recreate it from the costumes, the hair and the makeup, the cars on set, the locations. Everything just looks so perfect to the time. That's what I liked about the film.
one thing.
Because when Audio Boy him and I went and saw it, and we came out and we were at the Cineworld in town, so we're travelling down the escalators. We were quite high up. We didn't say anything to each other the entire way down. Got out of the cinema, across the road, and I went, well, that was shite. And he went, yeah. Just like, and then we just spent the rest of the time just walking, going like, just trying to understand and I guess failing to understand what the point in that film was.
So, and just like one more thing before we jump in. The final thing I think I did quite enjoy, and actually I've already said it. It ties in. It was Brad Pitt's whole character, and it's not even because he doesn't really have an arc necessarily, other than the kind of cowboy motif.
That would suggest the film had any sort of
direction. But I just love that he was so self-assured the entire film. And I think that's just like, it's just fun watching a character that knows what they're about.
Yeah, that's fair. I did enjoy watching Brad Pitt in that movie.
Yeah,
he's an enjoyable actor to watch on screen. Usually, no matter what he's in, like if it's good or bad.
Exactly.
And this being bad, he was fun to watch.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've already said it.
So was the dog.
So was the dog.
Dog
Why
was
is any
fun.
of that stuff? Like, oh yeah, Brad Pitt was.
I've never been more repulsed by dog food than in that movie when he's slopping out that dog food into the bowl. And he slops out a second one and then chucks the kibble on top. And I'm just like, oh. I was more repulsed by that than I was the violence at the end.
Which is the Tarantino special, really, isn't it? So I suppose we should jump into it now. Like, what didn't we enjoy?
Everything else about the movie.
Yeah.
It's egregiously long. It's egregiously self-indulgent, and sometimes I love a self-indulgent movie. There's plenty of artsy movies out there that I love that are just fully like Kubrick could go self-indulgent at times, or Noah Baumbach, he loves to go self-indulgent. I can love some self-indulgentness. Self-indulgentness is not a word. Some self-indulgent.
You can make it one. Rock it.
But this movie is self-indulgent in the worst way, where it's just a director once again patting his ego, stroking his, and feet, and just
many feet shots.
Oh, a disgusting amount of feet shots. Well, that's the buzzer.
Who's that?
Don't know.
Should we let them in and find out? Bring them on the podcast.
Have you not got a speaker? But they buzzed you.
I mean, yeah, but we've been getting buzzed all day.
Oh,
I don't know what's going on.
All these honeys coming for me.
interesting. How did you know when my buzz was the right buzz?
We didn't. There was one earlier on we thought was you. We left the door open and everything. I thought,
And
that's not Gary.
5 minutes went by and I was like, yeah.
We should probably lock our front door again.
So many feet shots. Didn't understand that. I did.
Yeah, it's like I feel like at this point Tarantino feels untouchable. It's like, I have my way of doing films. People, for some reason, continue to love it. So I'm just going to continue to do it. And I'm just going to do it to the nth degree.
Yeah.
To the point where I used to love Tarantino, and this is a point I'm going to get into later on when we really dive into him. But as time has gone on, and I've become more and more and more and more of a cinephile, his films to me have just looked tired, repetitive, unoriginal, and just full of theft, really, to the point where I'm like, Hateful Eight was like, I was finally like, yeah, I think I'm done with Tarantino. I don't want to watch his films anymore. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the bullet in the head for me of just like, I am done with Tarantino movie. I know he's only got one left, hopefully, but it's like, this movie is everything wrong with Tarantino as a filmmaker for me.
This film for me, I came out of it and thought this film 100% feels like Tarantino doing a highlight reel of every other film he's ever done. And that's
just a really bad highlight reel.
Oh yeah, I'm so torn by this film because I like I said 50%, and I honestly feel like I'm so on the fence. Currently, I think the next 5 conversations I have about this film are going to decide whether I end up loving it or fucking hating it, because there's so much of it that I'm just undecided on. And yeah, like what I mean by highlight reel, for anyone does go and see it. It's got elements of Death Proof in the sense that the whole first hour and 40 minutes are just character building and talking and setting the scene, and then this explosion of violence before it ends. Actually, like it finishes. It also feels like Pulp Fiction, like he wanted that film to be non-linear, and then they've edited it into a linear fashion, which I don't know if anyone else got that. It was weird. It was a really weird moment where I was watching this. I was like, it kind of feels like if this had been broken up differently, it would be more interesting.
Something that Audioboy and I were talking about is the editing in this film feels so off.
There's some really weird... The scene with Timothy Olyphant...
Yeah, we talked about that one.
What the fuck was
that about? I
don't
know what the decision behind that kind of jumpiness of the scenes like, but my thinking is, and have no proof of this. It's just my assumption, is that this movie, Tarantino wrote a much longer movie, a much bigger movie, which is incredible because this movie's already too long and too big.
It is very long.
It doesn't warrant. We'll get into that, but yeah, and when he was constructing it in the final edit, because I can imagine he just filmed so much extra shit for this movie. When he was constructing it in the final edit, he just started to like put this kind of mangled thing together, and this is the best he could do streamline wise. And if this is the best he can do, I'm like, I would hate to see a director's cut of this film, because for me, this movie is just a long, slow kind of slog of nothing. And the word you're going to hear me use a lot in this conversation for this movie is nothing, because this movie has nothing, it says nothing, it does nothing, it achieves nothing. It is a whole lot of nothing that I sat there for 2 hours and 40 minutes, almost dozed off at one point because I was so bored, just being like, this is awful. I need this to stop. Like,
So I'm not quite as hard. I don't think it was awful, but I do fully agree it had so many issues. The other big problem I think I had with it, the editing was bizarre, and that the Timothy Oliphant scene specifically is the main. There's a few. There's loads of other bits.
It's like it doesn't do it ever again.
The narrator, which
Kurt Russell comes in at the beginning.
Was that Kurt Russell?
Yeah, it was Kurt Russell.
So it comes in the beginning and says he's lying out his ass. He got a load of tickets of drunk driving, now he's banned from driving.
And 90 minutes
then
goes by.
No narration, and then all of a sudden
a whole
I'm just gonna narrate. Yep.
That's where again I feel this movie fell apart in the final edit, and Tarantino just like, I need to try and put in some narration somewhere just to try and keep the audience up to date. Because I feel like that whole section where DiCaprio goes off to Italy and something, I'm 100% that was a whole other big section of the film that they just had to cut out.
There was definitely bits of that where you see DiCaprio get fat.
Yeah.
Like, fat suit DiCaprio, yada, yada, yada.
And they just had to cut it down, bring in Kurt Russell to do a bit of narration, and then
they probably needed to put in a narrator earlier so that it didn't seem quite as.
But I feel it would have been better to not have had any narrator until that point.
You think?
Or have it be a more of a constant in
or
the film.
Not Kurt Russell, because now that you've said that, it's like, well, why would fuck Kurt Russell just because he has that one character earlier in the film?
I mean, I love listening to Kurt Russell,
Kurt
and
Russell,
I love looking
voice.
at Kurt Russell, so I'll take all the Kurt Russell I can get.
So that was baffling.
Yeah, editing, pacing, structure, real not good.
Yeah, tricky. And again, that's where I think it's like they wanted to do a Pulp Fiction. Like, they didn't want it to be linear, and then someone went, no, it's not going to work if it's not start to finish. And Tarantino went and panicked and struggled in the edit. And then I think let's move on to that, because that's the other big issue I had is that I didn't know anything about the Manson. I didn't know anything about the Tate murders. I've since for our listeners at home, I've since read up about them after coming out of the cinema, because I sat there and I was watching it, and Margot Robbie was Sharon Tate, and I thought, all right, cool. When's she going to come into play? And then she doesn't, and then she's pregnant, and then the whole fucking violent explosion happens, and then they come down the hill and they're like, oh, you okay, man? He's like, yeah, some fucking lunatics just broke in. And he's like, whoa, fuck, are you guys okay? Yeah, we fought them off. They're all dead now. All right, nice one. And it ended, and I went, what the fuck? Like, what the actual... Why is so much of the film dedicated to this person who doesn't do anything and has no, like,
appears
nothing?
for about 10 seconds.
Again, I said this to Audio Boy earlier. We talked a fair bit about this movie. That I feel that Tarantino saw Margot Robbie in Wolf of Wall Street and thought, oof, I want to look at her feet. Cast her in this film so we could just film her dirty feet for 20 minutes, take it home, have that in his secret stash, and just have a wee rub to it.
But this is
pervert.
But then
that's coming from Gavin.
That is coming from Gavin.
The feet shots in this film are egregious.
You have used that word 4 times.
Because they're egregious, Gavin.
I will. This is the best use you've used for it. The fucking feet shots in the scene are ridiculous.
It's
the one where the girl fucking slams them up against the glass.
Oh,
so you get that.
Walked out at that point.
You get that nice bottom of the foot smushed look. Ooh.
Poor Margaret Qualley.
From
the best TV show of all time, The Leftovers.
What? But yeah, so and the thing I will say for this is, if I can't ever do it now because, or maybe I could if I rewatched it because I now know about it, but I've lost that initial watch through. You know what I mean? You know how you make most of your mind up about a movie on the initial watch through, and it doesn't really matter how many times you watch it. You're always going to be marred by that first watch. So I'm never going to be able to watch through it with the knowledge that I have now, which is how tense would that film be if you know about the Tate murders? Because presumably, if you know about them, you're watching that and going, oh, fuck, so she's Sharon Tate. She's probably going to get murdered at the end of the film. And then when he goes to the Spahn Ranch, and you're like, fuck, that's where Manson was,
hanging
out and making a cult.
Yeah, because the final scene where like the kids all show up to the street and they're walking up with the knives, you just assume, I assumed, we both assumed they were going to walk into Sharon Tate's house, but instead, of course, they go over to Cliff Dalton's house instead.
No, Rick Dalton's.
Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth.
Rick Dalton's house. But then...
Because he comes out and he screams at them because he's blasted.
But then that's Tarantino doing what he did with
Bait and switch.
Inglourious Bastards, where it's like he doesn't want a movie to end that way, so instead he kills Hitler at the end of Inglourious Bastards.
Well,
and this one, Manson just disappears.
Was Manson in it?
Yeah, he was the guy that walked up. He was like, oh, I'm looking for my friends. And they don't live here anymore. And he went, all right, cool. And he got back in the van.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was Charles Manson.
Now that you've said that.
And was he driving an ice cream van? Or a delivery van?
Yeah.
Something.
Because that was another point, though, until now that you've said that. I was going to say, who the fuck was that guy? I honestly don't have a clue.
Charles Manson.
Right.
I'm also feeling like he was in the film a lot more and then probably got cut out.
Yeah.
Because it just feels... So... oh, God.
It's so difficult to talk about this film for me because it's... Again, 50%. It's like I kind of want to like it and I like some things about it, but then everything else is just so fucked.
For me, it just frustrates me. Where I'm just like, so Tarantino's like, oh, I want to do a movie that's a love letter to Hollywood in LA. Mm-hmm. And he wants to set it in the time that's nostalgic for him. What was prevalent at that time? The Manson murders. Okay, I'll try and write a story in which that's in there somewhere. And then he just didn't. He did a different story, and I was also like, oh, but look, the Manson stuff, but it plays no bearing on anything in the film at all, except him just going, look, Manson. Yeah. And you're going, okay, well, and what are you going to do with it? And you're like, nothing. You're like, why? He's like, because like, I don't have anything to say. And I'm like, well, fucking don't do it then.
Yeah, he's got this thing now where it's like like a Tarantino bait and switch. He's taking these historical moments that everyone knows about and then pull the rug out. I did it different.
And he thinks he's so clever when he's doing it.
It was good the first time when Hitler dies. When Hitler gets...
Yeah, they just unload the guns into
when
his
Hitler gets
face.
Destroyed and then exploded in a fucking theater fire, I was like, whoa, you can't... Oh my God, he's changed World War II. That's fucking crazy. And now Django fucking up slavery.
Yeah, black slave killing these white slave masters.
And then ruining slavery, which is a good thing, obviously. But changing history like that.
And then it was like... It's in the Tarantino way of doing it, which is like a jackhammer to the fucking face. God.
I did like the reference to Inglourious Bastards, though, which is Rick Dalton's film where he sets fire to a bunch of Nazis is clearly... Because it's part of the fucking Tarantino shared universe.
Shared universe.
Red Apple cigarettes, yada, yada, yada. But in Tarantino's universe, it's kind of I remember reading this ages ago. I quite like the theory that the reason that nobody's fazed by violence in all of his films is because they grew up in a time where slaves were fucking up their masters way back in the 1800s, and then World War II ended not with a fucking suicide by Hitler and a nuclear bomb going off, but with the Jews fighting back and everyone fighting back and literally slaughtering Hitler and the Nazis in the most violently horrible way possible. Which then you fast forward even further, Pulp Fiction, when Vincent Vega shoots that guy in the face in the back of the car. Even for a trained killer, that should be surprising. And he just goes, fuck, I just blew up his head. And it's like a relaxed thing because in school, in the Tarantino universe, they're teaching kids, here's how Hitler died. Look at that, it's fucked. That's fucking horrible. So kids are desensitized from violence from a really young age. I mean, it's cool, we bullshit. I like the idea, though.
And this is such an important but. Because Tarantino, for the entirety of his career, has been making the same argument, which is violence in movies and TV shows doesn't influence you to become a violent person. And then in this movie, he says it does. So I'm sitting there watching that scene, and they're just like, remember all those violent TV shows you watch? There's so much death and killing and blah, blah, blah. Why don't we go kill them now? It's like revenge. And I'm like, are you an idiot? Are you a fucking moron? Do you not realise what you've been saying as a filmmaker for the last...
But then the characters that he are saying that are portrayed in that film as the idiot, wrong characters. They're not. That's not portrayed in a light that's like.
It's still an idiotic thing to go against your own message that you've been saying all these years.
But not if in this film the message that he's saying is going against the message is said by an idiot. That would be like. It'd be like
idiots still kill people and cause horrendous murders and death. It's like,
yeah, but
I don't think making them smart or idiotic changes the fact that Tarantino was like, hey, violence can influence people to kill other people, just even if they're dumb or not.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I just think
it's just like it's what this entire movie is. It's like it doesn't know what it wants to be or what it wants to say or what it wants to do.
And you know what? 100%. Bottom line, I will give you that on every front. This film didn't know where it was. It didn't know really where its legs were walking it at any point.
Because
it wants to be a buddy film between Caprio and Pitt, and then it wants to focus on Caprio, and then it wants to focus on Pitt, and then it wants to be a
love letter to Hollywood.
And then it wants to be a Western, and then it wants to be a modern day Western with the cowboy motif, as we've said.
Yeah.
It's so much happening at pretty much every point.
A weird, twisted historical drama.
Yeah. It wants to be a tense murder mystery, not mystery, but it wants to be a tense murder thriller with Sharon Tate kicking around, waiting for the unknowing
softcore pornography.
It wants to be
softcore footnography.
Ooh. And it also wants to just completely besmirch the name of Bruce Lee and have absolutely no respect for that man whatsoever.
That whole sequence fucked me off because I enjoyed that sequence. I hated it and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the character building it did for Pitt's character. But the fact that the way it does that is by shitting all over Bruce Lee, who is historically a fucking good guy, and not just like shitting on him, just like racially tarnishing him as this Asian guy fights people. That's what they do. They just
also that he was some sort of blowhard egomaniac that just
because it's
gone walked around as if he was this fucking untouchable beast that could take anyone down. It's like, it's not Bruce Lee.
What's even more annoying about that is they have a line in the film where Bruce Lee, somebody says something like, "Oh, what would happen if you fought Muhammad Ali?" And Bruce Lee goes, "Well, that wouldn't happen." But he says it in this smarmy,
like
that wouldn't happen because I'd fucking win. It doesn't say that, but it's the implied tone.
Kind of smug tone.
Yeah. Whereas that's a genuine thing that Bruce Lee got asked all the fucking time. And Bruce Lee's honest reaction, if you read anything anyone's ever said about him, was like, nah, it's, like...
He was
it won't happen.
He was quiet and humble.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen. And people would call him out, like, hey, Bruce Lee, fight me. And he'd be like, nah, sorry, like,
It's not how I roll.
Yeah, because he didn't need to, because he was so self-assured. He knew that he probably could knock the absolute fuck out of anybody.
But he's not like a David Hay who walks around like a fucking bellend being like, I can take on the world.
And it is annoying.
Fuck you, David Hay.
But then, and again, man, 50%, the other 50% of that scene, Brad Pitt's character building and just showing how self-assured Brad Pitt is in that whole sequence was fucking brilliant. And Brad Pitt does that half of the scene really well. It's just a shame they did it
at the expense of Bruce Lee.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's what I know you didn't enjoy it, but I'm so fucking on the fence. I'm like 50%. 50% of that film was good.
Like I would I could see what the scene was going for with with Pitt's character and the kind of comedy from that of like when he throws him into the car and everything and the kind of like jokey
and it explaining why Randy fucking hates him.
Yeah, But I just couldn't sit there and enjoy it because it was Tarantino just using Bruce Lee as a prop for his film in such a disrespectful, awful way.
100%.
And in this case of like
with you.
Now Bruce Lee's daughter and friends of Bruce Lee and people who worked with Bruce Lee at that time have all come out and just says, this is not what he was like, this is not the man he was. why have you portrayed him this way? And Tarantino's response is not to back down and apologise, but to go forward, put his foot forward and say, oh, no, this is what he's like. I've seen him in interviews before. It's like, fuck you. No, you
didn't
don't.
fucking know him.
You don't know him. You never met him. Like, fuck you, you fucking prick.
You know what would have been interesting? Not interesting. You know what Tarantino could have done at the very least to save face? If he didn't want to apologise, he could have at least said, no, I don't think that about Bruce Lee. But, that's how Hollywood saw Asian actors and Asian celebrities at the time. So that's how I portrayed him in my movie.
Yep.
Then at least you'd be like, you're a fucking dick still, but at least you're kind of making it arty. But no, you've just come out and made yourself look like a fucking cock.
Maybe just kind of
You big fucking cock, Quentin.
Yeah, back off and maybe not let your ego just take over the situation.
This just makes me angry. Tarantino's a ball bag.
He is
Shall we move into the history of Tarantino? I feel like if we continue down this, it will just be shitting all over that movie. I know.
Because it's
let's just shit all over him instead.
Let's shit. I maintain. I can't imagine that it's as fun listening to people crap on a film endlessly. And maybe it is. I still think.
I guess we'll just give a quick summary. Would you recommend people go see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I don't know.
I'll go first because it's easier for me, and then you can try and figure it out from what I say. Maybe.
Do it.
Do not go see this film. This film is not worth your time. It is not worth your money. It's not worth I would say your thought process, but the movie doesn't do anything, so you don't have to think. It just exists in this plainness in front of you. Imagine staring a piece of A4 paper for 2 hours and 40 fucking minutes.
It was
and
so
at the end
long.
of it, it's... someone comes up and says, so what did you think of that? It's like, well, nothing fucking happened in the paper. You didn't draw anything.
Did you stay during the credits?
I did.
What was Leonardo DiCaprio saying? That bit.
What?
Hey, this is Rick Dalton here. Something, whatever.
Oh,
we were leaving at that point.
Oh, okay.
We started saying something and we didn't.
It's a commercial for Red Apple cigarettes that he's doing in character as Rick Dalton. And then at the end of it, he smokes it and he's doing the the smooth taste of red apples. And they're pre-rolled in a factory for you. And then you hear someone go, right, cut. And he's like, fucking these cigarettes taste like shit. And what the fuck's this cardboard cutout about? I've got a double chin. Brah! And it just shows that he's, the same character you've seen on film. Good actor, but just a dickhead outside. And then an advert for Batman and Robin starts playing, bizarrely. Like a radio advert, not even not a visual advert, a radio advert for Batman and Robin. The
much
TV
like
show.
the rest of the film, the post-credit stuff has
no
nothing
impact.
to do or say.
The only reason it's in there is for the Red Apple reference, so that Tarantino can say, "Look, guys, it's part of the Tarantino universe."
The film had ended. The credits were rolling. I want to give a wee shout out to Tim Roth, who his credit in the film, it says Tim Roth parentheses cut. So he didn't make it into the final cut.
I did notice that. I noticed it in a special thanks though. Special thanks to Tim Roth, and I went,
like, oh.
"Eh?"
Credits rolling. We're walking out, and as we're walking out, I hear behind me that there's a post-credit thing happen, and I think you said to me like, "Oh, do you want to go see it?" And I'm like, "Nope, don't care." Because if after 2 hours and 40 minutes that film couldn't achieve telling me anything, I doubt a fucking post-credit scene's going to do much for it. So I'm just like, let's get the fuck out of here and get away from this film. So don't go watch that film. It is not worth it. I'm not going to say it's his worst film because Audio Boy made the good point of let the film settle in my mind. Maybe because I'm not a big Death Proof fan. Kill Bill, I've never been the biggest fan of those films. So maybe it's definitely low. It's very low on the list. It's maybe the worst, maybe not. I don't know yet. But for me, it's not good.
So I'm gonna not counter that per se, but I'm gonna say if you are interested in Tarantino's career, it's probably worth a watch because if you have at least seen everything else, why would you not go and see this one? However, don't be prepared for any of his greats. And bouncing off what you just said, the more I think about Tarantino's career and the more I look back on his career, I don't know how many greats he even had anymore. You said something really early on in this episode, and I think you're right that now, looking back at these films with the brain I have today, I think it's low. But it's low in the midst of a lot of not great movies with maybe one or two good ones,
And I have my whole reasoning for that. So would you recommend it?
I'm gonna go with my scoring as I always do. I'm gonna give it a solid 4.5. No, I'm gonna give it a 5. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. Bang in the middle. I think if you want to see it because you know Tarantino, go for it. But you're either gonna fucking love it. And I think there are people out there. I think this is going to split the room
For
massively.
Context, when I was at work last night, I was chatting to my pal, and he was like, he was asking me what I thought, and I said I hated it. And I was like, what did you think? He said, I loved it.
Yeah.
I was laughing the whole way through, blah, blah, blah.
The whole way through?
It could have been influenced by the fact that he was quite drunk, he said.
Okay.
So he's like, he now wants to go see it a second time, but sober, to see if he still feels the same
Doesn't
way.
matter. His second viewing will be marred by his first.
But he said on his first viewing, he was just pissing himself with...
Yeah.
Because he said he's not a Tarantino fan. He's never really been a big follower. But he watched this follower of him. Jesus Christ. But he enjoyed himself for the film. And
yeah, I can see people loving it. I really can.
I mean, when the audience around us were laughing at all the jokes that were supposed to be laughed at, him and Audio Boy and I never laughed once.
So laughing at Bruce Lee's voice, and that was kind of the main thing I noticed anyone laugh at.
Yeah, that
also
which is also
the racist,
fucking weird.
The really racist Mexican joke that was just in the film that people were laughing at.
Which one was that?
It's the one where DiCaprio's crying and he says, "Oh, don't let the Mexicans see you cry." I was
Yeah.
like, what is that? What are you saying? What does that mean?
I suppose it's just showing the
It's
time.
funny because you've got to say the word Mexicans. I like.
Funny because it's racist, and then back and then it was accepted. Yeah, it's very macho as well. The more now that we're thinking about it, because that was one of my first thoughts. It's really macho and really, Brad Pitt. No, don't fucking let people see you cry, man. Put on my sunglasses because you can't let that happen. And I don't know. I think it's gonna split the room. I'm on the middle still. I think I need more talk with more people because this is good. This is cementing the fact that I hated what I hated, but I just think I need one conversation with someone that loved it, and then I can talk to them, and they'll go, and I'll go, yeah, you know what? The bits that were good, but it's just always going to be this weird mess of swirling things that happen for me anyway. So yeah, there you go. There's my review. No help whatsoever.
Has anything ever? Have we ever helped anyone with this show? I don't think we have.
Right. Should we do his history then? So, I think that we should do this. After what I've just said about all of his films maybe not being as great as everyone thinks they are, what would you say are his best films? And how many?
Reservoir Dogs and Inglourious Bastards.
Only 2?
Maybe Jackie Brown.
Okay. So, for clarity, I've not seen Jackie Brown. I've not seen Hateful Eight. I feel like I'm not missing anything with Hateful Eight.
For context, I've unfortunately seen every single one of his films, plus everything he's written.
I'm gonna go with Reservoir Dogs is great. I'm gonna go with Inglourious Bastards is great. I'm gonna put Django and Pulp Fiction underneath that, but not too far off. I quite enjoy both of them. Haven't seen Jackie Brown, and then everything else is where I'm into the. The more I think about it, everything else he's done is not.
I'm that person that when people lose their shit over Pulp Fiction, go how amazing is Pulp Fiction, I just say, what about the middle portion of that film do you remember or do you like? And no one can ever answer that question for me in a way that makes that I'm like, okay.
I think I can.
Because people remember...
Do you mean the Bruce Willis bit?
Yeah, the whole Bruce Willis section. Okay. And people love the first kind of act stuff with Samuel
Vince
Jackson
Vega and Jules...
John Travolta. Because,
Jules?
Mia
of
Wallace.
course, the whole...
Mia Wallace? Marcellus Wallace?
The whole...
Does he look like a bitch? I said, does he look like a bitch?
Now give me a quote from the Bruce Willis section.
Zed's
Your
dead,
father carried
Zed's
this
dead.
little pocket watch up his ass
No, that's
for 5 years.
That's Christopher Walken.
Zed's dead, baby.
And then
I got you.
the middle of the film kills...
You look like a cute little pot-bellied gorilla when you're all pregnant. I like Pulp Fiction. I've watched that film a lot as well.
I liked Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
And with Tarantino's filmography, I liked all of his films until... Because here's the way I deem Tarantino. If you want to get someone to fall in love with cinema, start them off with Tarantino. Because Tarantino was someone who grew up on cinema. He knows an insane amount of stuff about
You can tell
film.
Tarantino... Like you're exactly right. He loves cinema, and
he has
especially in the early
he has a
days,
knowledge of cinema that I could only wish to have.
Yeah, especially in the early days, he put so much love and effort. Granted, misguided a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah.
But you can tell that everything he worked on originally was a labor of love.
Yeah. So if you want to start someone off, to make them, if they're not really into cinema or they've never watched films, start with Tarantino because it's a wee entree. It's just it kind of gives you something of everything from all different walks of cinema life, where it's Asian cinema or Western cinema or the kind of grindhouse area of cinema. You get a taste of everything and you're like, oh, I like these things. And then what you do is you take all that Tarantino-ness, you put it to the side, and you go and explore what inspired him and what has been inspired because of him.
See, I was going to say,
all of that stuff is always better than what he's done.
I was going to say, after you've done Tarantino and had your little taster session of everything, just put it in a box and then go and watch hard sci-fi for the rest of your life, because there's nothing better. There's nothing better. Sci-fi is the ultimate category.
No, but okay.
Ex Machina, Her, Arrival.
I recently just watched
Back to the Future.
I recently just
Looper.
rewatched Ex Machina. What happened to Oscar Isaac? He is astonishing in that film.
That whole film's astonishing.
Well, yeah, but
I definitely thought you were going to be like, well, no, on my second watch. But no.
Here's an amazing thing. I
No
don't
argument.
like Donut Gleason as an actor, but on that
Did
second,
you just call him Donut Gleason?
that's his name. But on the second watch, I was like, actually, he's not that bad in this film. It's
Donald
all the
Gleason's
other
good.
films he's terrible in.
Yeah, like Dread.
Oh yeah, he's in Dread.
He's
isn't
in
he?
Dread!
Oh, I always forget that.
Hey, another good sci-fi film.
Or The Revenant, or Star Wars. He's awful in all these films. But yeah, what happened?
He's so funny in Star
What happened to
Wars.
Oscar Isaac? He's so fucking amazing in that film. Like the subtlety in his performance.
Yeah.
And I guess Alex Garland's writing is also a great help to that performance.
It helps that everything else in that film is so fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, but now you look at Oscar Isaac. Name the last film you saw Oscar Isaac in
Star Wars.
that he stood out in. Let me finish the question. Name the last film you saw Oscar Isaac in that he stood out in.
I seen something.
X-Men Apocalypse.
Fuck.
Definitely not.
No.
Because in Ex Machina, he steals every scene he's in.
Ex Machina is fucking
Like Drive.
incredible.
Was that before?
Yeah, but
Was he in
again,
Drive?
He was in Drive.
yeah, he plays the boyfriend.
He was good in that.
Oh fuck yeah!
But it's also just like, yeah, see, he didn't even remember.
I get you. I totally agree with you.
It's just a
Inside
shame.
Llewyn Davis.
I didn't see that.
I mean,
one.
yeah, that's pretty good, but it's the Coen brothers, not him.
But yeah, the dance sequence in Ex Machina.
Oh, it's so good. I want to be able to dance like that.
It comes out of like what I love about that scene in Ex Machina is that it's such a perfect highlight of just how absurd and how far down the rabbit hole Domhnall Gleeson's
Yeah.
character feels like he's gotten.
It's kind of like the scene on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, it's
Where
fucking
they-
exactly like
They're
that.
on the boat, and it just because like the
it's
neon lighting.
it's the
and
moment that Charlie realizes, oh man, this may not have been a fucking good. Grandpa, can we leave? He's like,
Yeah.
nah, Charlie, we're fucking. I don't. This is a labyrinth,
It's like,
and
we're
this
here now,
lunatic's
and
taking
there's
us.
no getting out.
I love the fact that there's the perfect amount of seats on that boat because Willy Wonka knew that he was killing kids. Yeah, that was his plan all along.
We should do an episode on kid killers. Voldemort, Willy Wonka.
Name more.
Charles Manson, technically.
We just talk about Once
Darth,
Upon a Time in
Darth
Hollywood
Vader.
again.
He killed young
Darth
Nicks.
Vader. How many kid killers are there in cinema that are staples of cinematic history?
I do love that Disney's like, you go to Disney World and you get, hey, do you want to have a lightsaber fight with Darth Vader? And it's like an 8-year-old boy and stuff. It's like, that guy kills young ones.
It would be what would be even better from Disney is if you went and it was like, come and sword fight, young Darth Vader, and they market it like that, and then you get there and it's just a grown man dressed like teenage Anakin or 20-something Anakin,
Yeah.
and he just fucking wails on the kids. Like he just fucking goes to town once a day.
Kids just leave Disney World with big welts in their back and shit. Like, fucking
The
hell.
parents are like, Jesus, and Disney can put their hands and be like, I'm sorry, we don't know what you were expecting. Have you not seen the films?
Have you not seen Revenge of the City? Kills younglings. Ewan McGregor terribly delivers the line. He killed younglings. He has to cover his face because he's laughing at how terrible the dialogue is.
You were meant to be the chosen one.
So yeah, Tarantino, what I would suggest is, like I said, he's just jump off point. But Tarantino, you can say it how you want. I'm going to say it my way. Liberally and egregiously, there's that word again for you, steals from other filmmakers' films, genres. Pretty much,
Yeah.
he just, with great abandon, will happily just go, see that thing over there? I'm going to take that and make it mine so people think it's mine.
Yeah.
Because I can't believe how many people out there, like, they'll see the many scenes from Kill Bill and like, how amazing all that. He comes up with all this stuff and I was like, yeah, but what about the film that he stole it from? And then you show them that and he's just like, because literally with Kill Bill, that whole scene that's like set in blue, but they're all like kind of monochrome black and stuff, he just changes the colour. It's red in the original, it's blue in his. Everything else is the same. I was like, it's so frustrating when people are like, Tarantino's one of the best filmmakers of all time.
Because the thing is, you ask anyone what Tarantino's style is, and after extreme bloody violence, What's his style?
Just taking other people's styles and
Yeah.
because here's the sad thing is Tarantino will take music, he'll take scenes, he'll take themes, he'll take tones, he'll take characters, he'll take everything.
Yeah.
He'll Tarantino it, which is to just turn it up to 11 and put blood all over it.
Yep.
And then he makes that the cultural stepping stone, and the film that he took it from disappears into obscurity, or no one even knows exists. And then everyone thinks he's this filmmaking genius, where instead he's just, I guess it's that old adage of good artists. What's it? Good artists.
Imitation's the sincerest form of flattery.
It was like a good artists borrow, great artists steal, or something like that.
Right, okay.
What's the saying?
This rings a bell, but
Yeah,
for the life of me, couldn't tell you
But,
what it's meant
but
to
then, but with Tarantino, it's just like he just steals at this. And with Once Upon a Time in
be.
Hollywood,
Which makes him a great artist, according to your saying.
I mean, according to that saying, but with him, it's just like I'm so fed up with it, and I'm so fed up of this. I mean, I feel like with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and the discussions that people have been having about this film and about Tarantino, and especially after that Me Too stuff came out, where he tried to just kill. The actress's name has gone from my head, from Kill Bill.
Uma Thurman.
I mean, he just tries to kill Uma Thurman. I think people are finally coming around to my way of thinking, which is Tarantino's not that great. And when you start to go back to his old filmography, a lot of it just doesn't stand up anymore.
A lot of the old filmography, and this, I fully agree. I think a lot of the old filmography that's been touted as, Tarantino's greatest, Pulp Fiction, were at the time phenomenal because they were at least trying to do something different. Whether or not that was stolen and put into the limelight or not, they felt like they were new ideas to the masses. And then you go back and you watch them, and just because something's a new idea and it's interesting doesn't make it necessarily a great film. And that happens a lot. That happens with films today that aren't Tarantino films. You watch something, you go, that was brilliant because I've never seen it before. And then you come back and you watch it 5 years later and you go, oh, this film's not actually great, but the twist or the whatever, that specific thing about it is still phenomenal. The rest of it, unfortunately, doesn't hold up.
I mean, for me, it's like he's never outdone Reservoir Dogs. But I think it's also because he was probably building Reservoir Dogs in his head for years and years and years and years before.
What was his first? Was Reservoir Dogs his first?
Reservoir Dogs was his first. Before he finally got to make it. And then when he finally made it, it's like he put his everything into it. And then after that, everything else has just kind of felt like at this point, he's become a parody of himself.
100%.
Where
100%.
Like, because with Inglourious Basterds, like, I feel the film builds to a point where it earns its violence and its shouts.
Inglourious Basterds has one explosion of violence, which is the Nazi face exploding machine gun hidden on the fucking wrist thing, right? But everything else about it feels fairly grounded.
That fucking scene in the pub where they're all just sitting around. Oh, I can eat that scene alive. Yeah. It's so gloriously delicate.
Yeah.
Delicate.
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 Oh, mate, that's a new word. Coin it.
Delicate.
Hashtag it.
Delicate.
The delegance of...
It's so good. It's so good.
Bastards.
There's so much to just sink your teeth into with that scene. And then that's another thing about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The dialogue in that film is just so nothing. There's that word again. It's just so... Just a flat line. Whereas you look at his other films, even the ones that aren't that good, the dialogue is so full of life and the characters are so vibrant and exciting the way they speak, and there's none of that once.
Because Death Proof, which I've already likened it to, Death Proof is not one of my favorites by any stretch of the imagination, but Kurt Russell's fucking 30-minute monologue where he's eating a fucking plate of nachos and just talking. It is phenomenal. Like that is a great monologue. And you're exactly right. It's not a great film. It goes on for fucking ages. But the dialogue in that film is way up there.
Hateful Eight's not a perfect example. I did not like Hateful Eight. That film's 2 hours and 38 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it's an incredible cast. And the dialogue is so juicy. Yeah. It is so good. But the film goes on for so long, and unlike Inglourious Basterds, Django Unchained, Hateful Eight, and then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood all do this Tarantino thing where I feel Tarantino feels he has to do it now, which is everything's going along, it's got these kind of twists and turns, it's exciting, it's bumpy, the dialogue, and then it just goes, okay, violence time, and then it just goes click, and he just fires full steam ahead into these stupidly over the top, terribly done, bad, violent grindhouse scenes that don't make sense in the context of the film.
But then
Like,
that's
and I'm just
the
like,
one thing I would say is the Tarantino style. That like genuinely
Yeah.
that is the single thing that I would
That's the
say
only thing he's
coined for himself. Having a film that's all dialogue and then burst of violence. That's it. After that, oof.
It's
And-
maybe
and-
because with some of those films you're falling asleep and that's how he wakes you up at the end.
on top of what you've literally just said, now that I'm thinking about it, you're 100% right. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I can't think of. We may have said a few like lines here and there, but Django Unchained, Pulp Fiction, Inglourious Bastards, Reservoir Dogs. I can quote
Kill Bill.
large chunks of these films. I don't think I could quote a single piece of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And again, for our listeners, I have walked out of the cinema not 2 hours ago, and I couldn't
Lost your
tell
keys.
you, and lost my keys, and I honestly can tell you. I can tell you what happened, but I couldn't quote a single line from it.
Is that because Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction have had like 20 years of like pop culture? Just sort of for people to
Maybe.
pick things up.
But then it's because it's not even. I mean, like like Pulp Fiction, just there. I can just quote chunks of that film because I know, you know what I mean. Like they're just in my brain, and even after the first viewing, I remember coming out. Like I remember talking to my friends about it and being like, "Oh no, there's a great bit right at the beginning. Nothing's happening. They're talking about what they call a burger in France. It's fucking great." Like I remember telling my friends that one viewing. But right now I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, what the fuck? I'm trying to think of a single quotable part of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like right now.
Do you know what I also
Anyone?
I was just thinking there that I just realised because when I came out of Hateful Eight, didn't enjoy the film, but Samuel L. Jackson's dialogue, Kurt Russell's dialogue, there's some great stuff you can just kind of like
Wasn't
mine from
Hateful
it.
Eight released on Netflix?
I think it's currently on Netflix. Yeah.
Is it? What was the one that was released on Netflix that was like Hateful Eight? It was released only on...
that was the Adam Sandler one, the Terrible Eight or something, or the
Terrible Seven.
Terrible Seven. Yeah.
It was different. It was clearly meant to be
And at the time it
riding
came
the
out, it was
coattails.
the highest viewed Netflix original movie of all time because fuck humanity. But yeah, I just realised Samuel Jackson isn't in this film.
Yeah.
He's in every other. He's not in Death Proof, and
Death Proof's a weird one, though.
he narrates. Well, he's in Kill Bill, but you don't really see him that much. And he's not in Inglourious Bastards, but I think he does a narration.
It's not Reservoir Dogs either.
Well, that was because we're talking about Pulp Fiction afterwards. It was like a staple that he would be
Yeah,
in.
Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction. Sam Jack was in everything with Tarantino. They were buddies for a while.
Yeah.
I always think about Tarantino's weird character cameo in Death Proof. No,
Django Unchained.
nope. Death Proof's sister film, Planet Terror.
Oh, I've never got through Planet Terror because it's a Robert Rodriguez film, and Robert Rodriguez. He came in. It was those three directors at the Miramax time that came in. It was Kevin Smith, Quentin Tarantino, and Robert Rodriguez. They were this new wave of indie cinema. They were changing the landscape. They were on magazines like these are the guys that are going to shape the future of cinema. And I was just like, well, fucking good luck to the future of cinema if this is it. Then. And now look at like Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith had a couple of hits and then just fizzled.
He's a podcaster at this point. Robert Rodriguez has made one good film, and that, well, unless you want to talk about the Spy Kids films, which I know people here do love.
You back off, pal.
I was going to say he's made one good film, which, and then after that,
Which one good film are you thinking?
El Dorado.
Oh, okay. I like Dust Till
You're
Dawn.
going to say Sin City.
Fucking, oh God, we could. Oh,
I thought you were going to say Dust Till Dawn.
I hate Gus Till Dawn.
What?
Yeah, I can't because again it's Robert Rodriguez and the man.
Oh, no, I'm going to stand up
No,
for
it's El
Dust Till Dawn.
Mariachi. That's the film, not El Dorado. El
Dust Till
Mariachi.
Dawn is... I remember the first time I watched Dust Till Dawn, and I was thinking, this is just like a regular gangster movie. George Clooney, Tarantino, that weird chick that's kind of hot, but also not. Harvey Keitel.
Do you mean Salma Hayek?
No, Simon Hayek's very hot.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about the weird... She's kind of rednecky. You know if you look her up. Tarantino's got a weird thing about her in Dusk Till Dawn. And then halfway through the film... Oh, and then fucking Danny Trejo, Maureen Cheech,
Yeah.
Donald fucking Glover.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is what's going to happen with these gangsters and the bikers. And then fucking vampires.
Yep.
I loved that.
Because it's a perfect, like, Robert Rodriguez.
Juliette Lewis.
Juliette Lewis.
Okay.
Robert Rodriguez was just like, hey, that Tarantino thing of like, at the end of the movie, I'll just completely shift to a different thing and it'll just surprise people so much they'll remember it.
That wasn't even the end, though. That was bang on halfway through the film.
So bad.
But you know why that is? I looked into this. It's two different films. they ran out of time and production budget, and they just thought, oh fuck, smashed them together basically.
I mean, out of the three of those, I guess M. Night Shyamalan was also a part of that new age cinema thing. But
Also did great things with his career.
But yeah, I guess sadly out of all of them, Tarantino's probably
He's the most profitable.
he's definitely the most profitable. But as a filmmaker,
Does that mean successful though?
I mean, no, because the Transformers were like the highest grossing films every year they came out, and they're not good in any way whatsoever. Call of Duty continues to be like one of the highest grossing gaming franchises of all time, but none of them are good.
I'm looking forward to the next Luigi's Mansion though. Talking about video games. Sorry. I seen an article of it earlier today, and
I thought you were about to say you're looking forward to the new Call of Duty. You know,
Nah,
fuck it, this flat.
I've just been wanting to talk to someone about Luigi's Mansion 3 for a while. So, looking forward to it, guys.
I mean, one day I'll get a Switch.
And then we can play Smash
It's
Bros.
not going to be anytime soon.
Yeah. All right. We got anything else of value to say?
I understand this has been a negative episode, but for me, this is something that has been brewing in my soul, my film soul, for so long. I'm
that
just
dark little rock inside
it's a
you
horrible
that you like
place.
to refer to as a soul.
It's a horrible place. You know, like the little bullets that kill the big bison animals in Princess Mononoke.
Yeah.
I've got one of those inside my body, and it's eating me from the inside out. Anyway, yeah, Tarantino. No, I'm not a fan.
we gathered. Yeah. Nothing else I really want to say. I do think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is worth a watch.
Nope.
And I think it's something that you need to make your own mind up, people. I think if you're listening to this, you have to watch it to make your own mind up.
I agree.
I'm not going to stand up for it. I'm not going to say you will guaranteed love it. I'm with Gavin. There's huge chunks of that film that I fucking just thought was so shit.
Here's a thought: is maybe don't see it in the cinema. Maybe just wait till it comes to streaming or to Blu-ray or something, because then you have the opportunity to pause it and go do anything else for a while instead of sitting there for. I mean, what it was like.
It goes on for a long time.
For fun context, Audio Boy considered walking out at one point, and I also considered walking out at one point. The scene where you talked about earlier, he's chatting to the wee girl, and it just goes on, and it achieves nothing, and then it just.
The scene with the little girl, the scene where Brad Pitt's talking to the old man at the Manson.
My God, I was so sick of that scene before it even
Country
started.
House. The thing is, other weird part. Sorry, I know we're in the wrapping up section here. Dakota Fanning is a headline name that comes up after DiCaprio, Pitt, and someone else. Margot Robbie. Then Dakota Fanning. Dakota Fanning's in that film for what? 5 minutes?
If that.
Less than?
I mean, it's more of her feet than her face.
Fucking, what the fuck? Why is she a headline name in that movie?
I don't know.
She comes before Kurt Russell.
Which is, everyone should be behind Kurt Russell. Man's a fucking god.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's just, the scenes in that movie, they're so long. And a scene will go on for genuinely what feels like 20 minutes. There'll be a scene. And at the end of that 20 minutes, I started doing this as the film went on. I'd ask myself, what did that scene achieve? Yeah. What did that scene tell me? And as those scenes continued to go on, they achieved nothing to the point where it got to that scene where he's chatting to the little girl, and that scene ended, and I thought, I don't need to be here anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. This film's doing nothing.
What's really interesting, actually, for me, final thought. I came out of Midsummer, and I spoke to a few friends of mine that have seen that around the place, and the general consensus from my less film-loving friends has been, yeah, Midsummer's interesting. It's a film about a breakup, but every scene went on for just 5 minutes too long. And I've defended that and said, no, the whole point of Midsummer is that every scene is designed to make you feel as uncomfortable as possible, to the extent where they do go on for 5 minutes, but it's a choice. And it's a choice that I think works, because you are left sitting in your seat going,
pulling you deeper and deeper and deeper into this uncomfortable space.
Tarantino comes out with this, and every scene is 10 minutes too long, and I can't defend it. It just is. It's just crap. End of. That's my point. It just goes on too long. I'm fully with you. But it's just funny that I've spent time defending Midsummer for the exact same thing Tarantino's tried to do, and I have no defense for Tarantino for it. It's just, yeah. Ugh. Let's wrap.
Yeah.
I'll just moan otherwise.
I'm just going to say my closing thought is just explore the directors that inspired Tarantino, and explore the work that he inspired, because all of it is going to be a hell of a lot better than what he's done.
Anyway, guys, I feel gloomy now.
I mean, the weather doesn't.
The weather's changed.
You know,
it's
will
raining
help.
sideways.
Gotta get some pints.
Anyway, guys, that's it from us. Thanks for listening. As always, we'll be back next week with another riveting episode
of the Meandering Movie Podcast.
of the Meandering Movie.
What
Podcast.
will we talk about?
Well, we need to stop saying it. I always push for like a topic, and so far we've on 2 separate occasions said Spider-Man, the trilogy, which we've never done, and then a couple of weeks ago we said Matrix, which we also,
interestingly,
which we've still never done.
As of recording this episode, Spider-Man's just got kicked out of the MCU, and they've just announced they're doing a 4th Matrix movie. So we could do a double feature.
They're on the cards. What the 4th Matrix film? Neo's dead, right?
Let's save that for an episode.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. As always, you can get us on Twitter at Meandering Pod, Instagram by searching for the Meandering Movie Podcast, Facebook, same thing, just search for the Meandering Movie Podcast, and Gmail if you want to send us an email, meanderingmoviepodcast@gmail.com.
Yep.
.com.
Give us topic suggestions, please.
Suggestions, reviews. Let us know what you think.
Opinions, comments,
We
responses,
just like hearing from
fact
our
checks.
fans.
We like a wee fact check for like Phil's work daddy. We'll
Exactly.
Take
Just tell us. If you know us in person, shout at us. If you don't know us in person, you see us walking across the street, shout a fact.
if you see me at a bar, buy me a pint.
Yeah. As always, you can catch me on Twitch at Pixels Cafe. If you want to see me play some video games, you can subscribe for money, or if you got Amazon Prime, you can do it for free. And Gav, what would you like to plug this week?
Fuck it. Follow me on Instagram, Gavin's Ramblings.
Ooh.
Why not? I'll sometimes put up stuff.
Final thought of the day. I've been using Twitter more recently, as Audio Boy knows, because he's the only person that likes anything I post.
You're welcome. Here to support you in every way.
I haven't looked
man.
at Twitter in a very long time.
I don't use it, but I've recently been just like one random thought a week. It seems to be is my my amount, and my most recent tweet. I'll read it for you guys, just because I feel like you'll enjoy it. I don't know how to find it. Can't do it. Bye.
It's Meandering Movies. It's Meandering Movies. It's Meandering Movies. So won't you lend an ear?